On this episode, we are finally going to test a high-end charge controller. This is the MidNite Classic 250, and we are going to be testing it on the same unit we use to test the EPever tracer. And that's this unit right here. This is a 12-spoon Pelton with a pitch diameter of 6.25. Also using the same adjustable nozzle, unlike the EPever, which is solar only. This one is capable of handling solar, wind, and hydro. So let's see if this one that's especially designed for hydro is able to pull the 250 watts out of this unit, the smaller wheel. We do know that we at least have 265 watts of power available at our source. So let's bring it over to the hydro pit and find out. Finally taking down those tarps. Making slow progress on my entrance to the hydro pit. And as you can see, my solar panels there, they're two 100-watt panels, is 9:15 in the morning and no sunlight. I just have way too many trees here and it just blocks the sun. And this morning my inverter's cutting out for a lack of power. I'm trying to rip this, but the real reason I'm running out of power is because I run the hot water heater to my shower in the outhouse, which is 1500 watts. I run it for about 15 minutes to heat up the water, but that really drains whatever juices in the batteries. We are back again here in our hydro pit, and this time we're going to test the MidNite Classic 250. The 250 is not essential, but I wanted to make sure that I had plenty of voltage for future projects. This generator is capable of generating about 130 volts, and the MidNite Classic can handle 250, at least this model does. They do have some other models. They have a 150 and a 200, but I chose to go with the higher voltage just to be safe. Our setup here consists of the generator, our watt meter, the charge controller, which is the MidNite Classic. I do have a battery here. This battery is to power my RPM meter because that one only handles 12 volts. Just in case I want to test with 24 or 36 or 48, I wouldn't have to worry about it. So it has its own power supply. Our battery cables here, which go up to the battery bank, which is upstairs. I got about 15 feet of wire going up there, and it's a 10 gauge. Now this unit is brand new. It's never been run. Hopefully there's nothing wrong with it. So there's a couple of things we need to do first before we put power to it. I did hook up the wires, the battery and generator wires to it, but I haven't set it up. I haven't powered it up or anything. We have to connect the front panel, which is inside. Now they tell you to hook it up over here with a screw, but I'm not going to do that right here. What I'm going to do is plug the wire in here. I'm supposed to put some little grease in there now, but I'm not going to do anything because it's just going to get all dirty. Alright. And right here, I have the positive and negative that go to the battery, and the generator or PV goes here. We get negative and positive here, which is our white. Alright, that's all we got to do in here for that. Now, as far as changing the battery voltage, that's one thing. It wasn't completely clear if I can just hook up any voltage to it and then set the voltage afterwards. But once it's set up, I'm not sure what will happen. But I guess I'll find out. There's an option to set it back to factory default to start off with, and supposedly auto detect the battery. But I don't know if that's necessary, and I couldn't find information as far as that. Now, this cover pops out of here, and it is a little tricky. You just got to press on it until it pops out. And we need to remove this little paper here that's will release the battery and allow it to power the memory. Well, yeah, it also pulls out the battery. All right, so the battery fell right out. And slide it back in. Okay, so be careful when you pull that out so the battery doesn't fall out. And we'll pop the cover back in place. And we'll power it up and see what it does. Just like the instructions said, that I get to choose what system I'm running. So we're running hydro. And I guess I'll press enter. This is the first time I'm using this, so I'm not 100% sure on all the settings and all, and how to operate it, but obviously we navigate with the buttons. This, they call this the soft keys, the left and right soft keys, and these are up and down arrows and left and right arrows. Our menu key and a status key. So I'm gonna hit enter right here. And oh great, I left all my settings back at the shop. It is 12 volt, and that is correct. That's what we're hooked up to. And okay, we gotta set our time, 103, so we'll call it 13. And it looks like obviously it would be month first, so it's July. We'll go to 7 and 23rd. That's it is 7/23/24, 13:05. We got everything 100% there right now. So we hit status. Okay, we had the situation with the water intake this morning. Now the dam has failed, and all the water's going underneath it. So we have the dam right there that is holding together, but the water is going right underneath. That's the pre-filter, and the water is dropping just before it down in there. And the other side here is the intake. A bunch of mud in there and settlement. That's it. There's enough water to run the hydrant. I got it plugged up enough so we can get some water down here. And let's see if this magical device, without doing anything at all, this is the same unit we used to test the EP-Ever, and to see what it did. Now the EP-Ever, the best it did and held was about 112 watts. So let's fire it up and see what it does. Alright, I had to put a load on it because it went right to absorb. I had to really overload the batteries with this. I guess with the batteries being so far away, I know I have thick cables here, but these 10 gauge wires are just not good enough. Now it's doing this thing. It's trying to find this point. Now that it's working, it's not as loud. It was very loud before. Definitely doing better than the ever. Not as good as having the right runner on there. That our battery voltage is 1217, but up there actually the battery voltage is much lower. This one's showing 180 or so, 182. And this one, same as with the If Ever, is showing less. Yeah, it's the same like the other one. It's about almost 20 watts off right now. So it's about 14% or 15% off. Again, it's doing a sweep right there. Where it's settling now, which is about 200 watts, which is pretty good. Alright, I just restarted it. It says MPPT on here. And the power is a lot less. It's about 130. The voltage is low. RPMs are low. So I'm not sure what the story is right here. The advantage to this charge controller is that I can change those settings and actually make the voltage always hold at a certain point. So I might try that, because 50 volt or around 49.6 was the best voltage that we saw. Because right now it's not. It says volt on the charge and MPPT on the mode. Alright, now it's doing a sweep, so maybe I'll find it now. Alright, watts are climbing. That's a good sign, so I guess the MPPT is doing this job right there, starting to get back up there, so that's what we wanted to see. I just didn't give it enough time for it to work its way and find that point right there. It's getting close to 200 watts. That's pretty good. That's good. All right. I was concerned there for a little bit. little louder than the turbo. We're getting really close to 200 on here, but 180 on this one here. 181 right there. So we're definitely doing a lot better than the other unit, but we're still not getting the power that we got at having the proper setup. I could try going to 24 volts, see if there's any gain. I would expect it, probably not, but I'm going to try it out. That was definitely a lot better than the EPEver unit. We were able to get, according to this one here, 185 watts. And the best we got out of the other unit was about 120. 112 actually is where it kind of settled at and held, even though sometimes it would drop slowly all the way down to 80. Now this one here is showing close to 200 watts. And this is 12 volts with the same small Pelton. So we're going to try it at 24 volts and see if there's any changes. We're able to get more than 200 watts. I don't know, because we weren't able to get that kind of power out of this unit without the charge controller. I couldn't find a way in the menu to switch the voltage to a higher battery input. So I had to install this switch here in order to be able to turn it off and from here and reset it, because you have to apply power. If I remember correctly, you have to hold this left and right and apply power at the same time. So let's see if that works. Okay, so that allows me now to start over again. So we'll go to hydro. Battery voltage, they recognize it at 24. So we're good there. Now the other stuff, I'm just going to leave a default. I really don't care too much about how the battery is being charged. I guess enter. Date and time is correct. That at least remember that. So enter. All right. So now it shouldn't give me the error. It was giving me an error here. Down here it was telling me that the battery voltage was too high. So let's try it to see if we can get more than 200. We're peaking at about 200, 201, 202 watts. Let's see if it does better at 24. If it doesn't, that's a good sign, because that means that the MPPT discharge controller is doing a good job at finding the best point. But let's find out, and we'll compare that to the results when we had no charge controller. See what it does. The batteries are low enough, so it is charging. If it doesn't, we'll have to put a load on it. But it is charging. 159 watts, so it's not any, doesn't look like to be any rated, but we'll give it a little time to settle down and try to find its best spot. meter is off, I'm gonna have to plug it in. And about 42 psi meters for that last time. So, 42. Meter back on. Still waiting for, there it goes. He's not doing any better. It's about the same. I mean, it's a little less, but I'm sure we can tweak the water a little bit to get it to the 200. It's about running about 193, 190. It's jumping between 191 and 196. Right there, it just said 200 right there. Just try to tweak it a little bit more. All right, that's very good. So we were not able to extract any more power at 24 than we did at 12 volts, which is exactly what I was after, where we don't have to worry about the battery voltage. This charge controller is doing an excellent job at extracting the most out of the unit. So I'm sure if I go to 3648, it's going to be exactly the same thing. We're looking at around 200 watts. With this, so we'll compare those values to what we got without a charge controller. I have this old well. I guess that's what it was at one time, and it kind of fell apart. It's a natural spring that comes out of there. There's also a bigger one that comes from that direction, but that one is kind of flat, so the water comes out very level to the ground, so there's a lot of potential for it to get contaminated by wildlife. This one here comes out of this hill here, and what I'm going to do, or what I'm doing, is taking a straight line here so I can install a pipe once I clean this up and put a barrel in there with some holes and feed it to a PVC pipe so I can collect the water once it's all covered up down at that end, where I'm able to get let's say a 5-gallon bucket or something underneath there, so I don't have to keep this open and stick a pan or something in there like the old days. I want to be able to just put a bucket down at that end and be able to collect the water. And down here, that's what I've taken out so far. I have a very large rock right there. Hopefully I'll be able to break it apart. And the idea is to go down probably about 50 feet. I'm hoping less, so I can get the right pitch and enough clearance for a bucket.